Hey, welcome back down to my shop here. We're going to do a little build today, and something I've been excited about building for a little while now, and I'm finally getting to it, so I apologize. This is something that I wanted to put out a little bit ago. But today we're going to be reshafting my TaylorMade Spider ZT putter. Yes, this thing is one of those ones that everybody's been kind of raving about, the zero torque Spider. But we're going to be reshafting this because, as you know, I like the stiff feel of graphite putter shafts. So I have the brand new Breakthrough Golf Technology Stability Carbon Pro shaft here. This is the brand new one they just came out with. Pretty exciting. This thing's totally brand new. They're using more high modulus carbon fiber in the upper section here, this carbon fiber section. So it's about 10% stiffer, almost zero torque to it. It's extremely stiff. I mean, you can try to bend this thing and it barely moves. So it's extremely stable, extremely stiff. And also a lot of these carbon fiber or graphite shafts kind of soften up the feel a little bit of a putter. So it takes a little bit of that vibration out, makes it feel just a little bit softer, which is nice. This one also has a redesigned kind of fluted a connector here where the shaft will go into. Now this is a really versatile shaft as well. So if you have a double bend putter or something like a single bend, a unique shaft, this will actually fit on there. You'll just use the existing shaft that's in the putter. If you're using just like a standard plumber's neck or slant neck, they actually will send you like a black tip that you can install in here and use that right like that slant neck or plumber's neck for something straight on, which is kind of nice. Now this is actually a fairly simple install, but it is kind of intimidating because if you have a shaft where it's a double bend or a single bend or whatever, you're going to actually have to cut the shaft of your putter in half, or not quite in half, but you're going to have to cut it. And that actually makes it very good for this putter because this is not an easy one to reshaft. As you know, the shaft gets entered into the center of the club head, which is actually kind of close to the face of the putter. And the face of this putter is just a pure roll Surlyn insert. So it's rubber and it's held in place with like some tape and some adhesive. And if you add too much heat, you can actually damage or loosen up this insert. So you don't really want to heat these up too much. You got to really take a lot of care when you're reshafting this. So instead of having to yank the shaft out by using heat, we're going to cut it and use the Breakthrough Golf Technologies Stability Carbon Pro putter shaft. So I'm really excited. We're also going to pull the grip off this and save it and reuse it and build this thing up. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I really like this putter, but I wanted to put a new shaft in it, and I've just been really kind of scared about pulling the shaft out of this one. So this is going to be a great option to add a little stiffness, stability, and a little different feel to this putter. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure this putter off, cut it off at the right length, and then get it ready for the gluing in of this new putter shaft. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we're going to need to cut this putter shaft. We're actually going to cut it in half. Now this thing here, we need 8 inches from the head to the top in order to fit enough of the shaft inside the stability shaft and have a little bit of the tip sections setting out. So 8 inches is what they need. I can just take a ruler here or my tape measure, measure it off and mark it at 8 inches. I'm going to try to do this left-handed because I'm holding this thing backwards for the camera. So marking at 8 inches, and that is the spot where we are going to cut the shaft. And I know this is a little intimidating because you're going to take your very expensive, very nice putter and literally slice it, but it's okay because what we're going to do is after we cut it, we're going to prep this and then epoxy the stability shaft onto this piece of shaft. So an easy way to do it is just a little intimidating when you're going to cut your putter in half. So let's go cut it in half. So usually for cutting this off, I would take my cutoff wheel and just zip the shaft, cut it off. But since the head's installed, the grip's installed, we want to kind of use both those pieces. I don't want to you got to manipulate it in there and get it around. I don't really feel like doing that and maybe scratching the head or damaging it or anything like that. So I'm going to use the old school pipe cutter. So this is a manual pipe cutter here. I got this honestly at a garage sale for like $1, if that. So we're going to use this to cut the shaft off. And what it uses is a small little like sharp wheel in there, and you tighten it down, and the pressure as you rotate it around will cut the shaft. So you kind of put it on here, and you find your mark of where you marked your 8 inches up, and you tighten this on, and you tighten it, and then you just kind of move it around. And as you move it a little bit, tighten it, and it's going to mark up the shaft a little bit, which is okay because we are going to sand it down anyway. But this one here, you just kind of slowly tighten, work it around, and it will eventually, you'll hear it kind of snap the shaft off. And you got to be a little careful because you don't want the head to fall off and again get damaged. So you just kind of run this around, tighten it up, and you can hear it kind of go, and there it goes. And we are done. So that is cut off. So you have your shaft here with grip, and you also have now just a putter with 8 inches of shaft on it. So pretty easy, and it actually has kind of a clean cut. You do need to sand it just a touch to make sure there's no real sharp edges while you're working with anything, but you can get these things pretty cheap, and if you ever need to cut steel shafts and you just don't want to use a cutoff or don't have a cutoff wheel, these things work really, really well. So, and they're much faster when you're not trying to do it on camera. So we're gonna give this a quick sand, make sure we got all the sharp edges off it, and then we're going to prep it to install in the BGT shaft. All right, so something interesting that I just found. So we cut this at 8 inches, and I went to go slide the Carbon Pro part of the shaft on top, and the shaft on here was way too wide still. So this has a more rapid taper to it than some other shafts out there. Now I kind of took my old trusty calipers that I bought off Amazon and did some measurements and found out that you had to only cut this at basically just over 5 1/4 inches long. So definitely going to have a little less tip section exposed there, which honestly won't really change anything in the performance. But if you are someone who plays in USGA types events, this does now make this illegal. According to BGT, you can only cut this at 8 inches to be fully legal. So I'm going to have a putter here. It is actually technically going to be illegal if I was to play in some true, event. But since I just am using this for my own tinkering, I'm going to go ahead and go do it. But just so you know, going forward, if you were to do this to your own putter and you're someone who plays at those kind of levels, this is not something that it looks like you're going to be able to do this way. So again, just over 1/4 inches long there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put this on here. We're going to mark it with our Sharpie. And then that way we know how much area of the shaft to prep. And don't worry, the Sharpie will come off with acetone, so it's not on there permanently. But we now know how much of the shaft to sand down and prep in order to epoxy it into the Carbon Pro upper section of the shaft. All right, so now we're going to sand this down. Again, I'm going to put the head cover back on here, so as I sand it on my belt, I'm not going to actually damage anything or ding the putter up or anything like that. You could just be very careful as well. But we're going to prep this up. You could use regular just sandpaper by hand and sand off the black finish, the black paint, and get it down to steel. That's going to offer the best adhesion with the epoxy between the two pieces of the shaft. So all right, so once it's prepped, you can see it's just like raw, kind of the raw steel. That gives the best bonding. You're going to take this end, and we're going to epoxy it into this end. So that way they are permanently bonded. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now, mix some epoxy, put these together, and let them dry. All right, so you can just use regular shaft epoxy. The epoxy I use is called, it's 3M. It's called DS or DP8410 NS. That's the stuff I've been using for a while. It works really well. It's not quite. I always wanted to kind of use the A10, the 810 from 3M, but just crazy expensive. It's like $50 for one of those tubes, or $60, and it's the stuff they use on tour, but just extremely expensive. So this stuff has actually been really good for me. I've read up on a lot of different epoxies, and this stuff it's really good. It's less sensitive to temperature changes and things like that. And it's actually kind of thick, so with some of the builds, it's kind of nice. It fills in some of the spaces on its own, so you don't have to always use shafting beads or anything like that. So mix it up well, get it all mixed up to the whatever epoxy you're using, their specifications. And once it's on there, we are going to add some epoxy. So listen, this isn't a challenge of getting as much epoxy as humanly possible into the shaft or the tip, but we're first going to put this in and put some epoxy inside the actual shaft. So it has it there, spread it around really well, and then we're going to take some epoxy as well and put it on this tip end. And again, spread it out, just needs a thin layer, doesn't need anything crazy. You're not, again, trying to set a world record for how much epoxy you can get on the tip of this shaft, but gets things set so it's all kind of just got a little bit on there, as a coating. If there's any big chunky excess, you can kind of wipe it off there. And once it's set, we're going to take these two and put them together. So slide them over, and I like to give them a little rotate so that way the epoxy gets on all over. And then you have that. We're just going to wipe that off and let it dry. So I'm going to make sure the logo stays kind of down because I don't really want to see it. We're going to wipe off this excess epoxy here so it's clean. And then once we get that thing cleaned up, we're going to let it sit and dry. All right, now we want to reuse this grip because it is kind of offset on there, so it's going to fit with the forward shaft lean of the putter. It kind of straightens it out, get your hands into position a little bit better. So I want to reuse it. And it's in great shape. I mean, it's pretty darn new. So we're just going to use this pretty inexpensive grip saver, and it's got a little V channel in it. You slide it in, and we're going to use some solvent to knock it out. So with Super Strokes, it can be a little difficult sometimes to get it started because that rubber top is a little bit thicker. But you're going to get that thing started in there, and you'll hear it kind of break away from the tape a little. And then we're going to pour a little bit of solvent into the side and kind of work this around a little bit. As it works around, the solvent will get in and start, loosening up the grip from the tape, and just go a little bit around here and there. And as you get down, go a little further, then add a little solvent. I'm always the guy who, a little more solvent always helps. And you just kind of work this around. And you will take your time with it. If you don't want to damage the grip or anything like that. And slowly kind of work it around. And you'll see this thing start to pull away. I know other people sometimes will put the V channel against the shaft to kind of help get the solvent down there, but I think it's kind of pulls the grip away a little too much, and you're already stretching it out a touch, so I think it's nicer to just use it the other way and get the grip saver against the shaft to kind of help reduce a little bit of that that stretching out. And as you work it down, you will feel it get looser and looser, and it's like we're getting close here. So we're kind of hear the thing working in there, and this takes a little bit. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but a few uses, and you've saved yourself some money when it comes to some grips. So it's almost there. And put a little towel down because you're going to get some solvent everywhere as well. And then eventually this thing will pop off. I'm almost down to the bottom. All right, and then here we go. This one here is now, is that one here, you can see some of the tape kind of got stuck in there, and you'll be able to get that out. Most of it came out. You look in there, you can see if there's any extra tape. Most of it actually kind of came out there. I don't really see a whole lot in there. What I'll do later is you'll put a little solvent in there, swish it around, and then use your tool here to get the rest of that tape out of there if there is any extras in there. So I think it's actually pretty clean. I'm going to pull the put a little flashlight down there and see, but it actually looks pretty darn clean in there. So I think we'll be good to go. And then you let this dry from the solvent, and it is good to go on the next one. All right, so once your epoxy's done drying, whatever kind of epoxy you use, it maybe it's shorter or longer. Once you're done, now you are ready to measure and cut this thing to length so we can go ahead and put the grip back on it. So I have kind of a unique way that I do this now. I used to just use my ruler and put it on there, but I found that honestly there's certain putters that I just really like the length of, and I try to measure them all off that now. So we're going to put this up against my cabinets and measure it to the length of my kind of gamer putter that I use, so that it's the exact same length. So this is kind of the weird way that I do it. All right, so I know this is a little unique, but so what I'll do is I'll take, and this one works pretty easily because it's a zero torque putter, but this is kind of my gamer putter, my Kevin Burns. I get this lined up about as flat as I can lie angle wise on the floor, and then I line this up. I kind of align the sight lines up next to each other, and then once it's there, I kind of mark off where that is going to be. And there's about 1/8 to 1/4 inch, depending on the grip, of space there. So I'll make sure it's kind of just underneath the cap, and then I'll know they're the same length. Then I kind of usually take it, put my hands kind of down. Does it feel right? It does feel lengthwise pretty good. So that's how I do it. Of course, you can use a ruler. You can do all that stuff. But yeah, for me, I kind of been doing it this way lately. So I have all my putters that are the same length. All right, now we're going to cut this putter to length here on the cutoff wheel. Now you have to remember these are insanely thick in terms of the wall thickness on these putters. So they're going to take a little bit more to get through your cutting wheel. So don't try to go too fast and bog it down and get the thing all jagged. Just move nice and slow, and you'll get through it. It'll be fine. All right, so now we're going to grip this thing here. You get your rubber shaft clamp, put it on the shaft there, and then you stick this in your vise. I need to go a little further up, make sure that we get the entire shaft there on over the pan. And now what you want to do is you want to make sure this thing is, the face on this is like 90 degrees, as straight up as you can get it. So that way when you put the grip on, it'll be pretty straight. And then once you get that straight, kind of lock it in. Taking our grip that we saved already, I like to put it over here and kind of measure it off so we get the right amount of tape on there. And then we're going to put on, some people build stuff up, you can do whatever. I just kind of go with one piece of double-sided tape. So put it on, push it down, you cut off about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, whatever, on the back. So there's a little overlap there. And then kind of make sure it's down. I like to peel off the protective part first, and then kind of wrap it around tight. Try to make sure you don't have too many wrinkles or bubbles on there or anything like that. Then you take the end, kind of give it a twist, and kind of push it down so it kind of covers the edges, makes it a little easier for the grip to slide on. And then take your solvent, cover the little hole with your finger, fill some solvent in here. You don't have to fill it all the way up, but the more solvent, the easier it is. So if you're new to it, definitely use a little more. And then just pour on your solvent onto the tape. So that way everything's lubricated. And then right on and slide her on. So once it's on there, wipe up any extra solvent with a towel, paper towel, anything like that. And then make sure your grip is straight. So try to align it up to the alignment aid on the putter. And there you go. So this takes about, depending on your solvent, 15, 30 minutes, whatever, to dry, maybe an hour, depending on what you use. So set it aside, let it dry, and you should be good to go shortly. All right, so once your grip dries, you are ready to go. And that is the Breakthrough Golf Technologies new Carbon Pro install on a Spider ZT from TaylorMade. So the nice thing is, too, you hold it there, still face bound, or still zero torque. Didn't really change anything. And honestly, I like the kind of stiffer, softer feel that this thing offers. So pretty easy to do. Now this one here, again, remember, is technically USGA illegal just because of how much shaft you have to cut off, but it is a quick install and not quite as intimidating as you might think. So if you have any questions, whatever, leave them in the comment. Thanks for watching, and yeah, gonna go pet with this thing, see if I can make a few.